Hey Internet, Acid Jane here, and welcome to another episode of Rebuilding Willow Creek. As you can see from the title of this video, today we are building a contemporary cottage. At least, I think it's a cottage. When I think of a cottage, I think of like a Tudor-style home, which this definitely isn't. But when I looked up the word cottage in the dictionary, which I did because, that alliteration really appealed to me, the dictionary said that a cottage is a usually one-story small family home, and this is a small one-story family home, so I decided to go with that title anyway. If you want to download this build, it is available on the gallery. My origin ID is kaligulaYT. Just remember that I'm probably going to change that to something Acid Jane related in the near future, when I actually remember to do that. So anyway, like I said, this is part of my Rebuilding Willow Creek series. I think I said in the last episode of Rebuilding Willow Creek that I was just finishing up this little neighborhood that's on this cul-de-sac, and that was a lie because I totally forgot about this lot. This is a pretty small lot. I think it might be the smallest lot in this neighborhood. And so I was excited to build something a little bit smaller than I have been building because I've been doing a lot of big builds lately, not necessarily for this series particularly, just my little Bora Bora build was absolutely huge, my recent Handmaid's Tale build was absolutely huge, and I've been working on a couple of other ginormous builds, so it was really nice to take a step back and just do something a little bit smaller for a change. So this is not a starter home. I thought about making it a starter home, but then I just got carried away with the interior. So I will be building several starter homes in the other neighborhood on this side of Willow Creek. I don't think that I'm going to make the entire neighborhood starter homes because there are just a couple of lots in that neighborhood that are pretty good sized lots, and it just seems like kind of a waste to build a really small starter home on those. I guess I could try building a big starter home. The house next to this one in Willow Creek actually it wasn't a starter home, but it was a pretty cheap house. It was like 30,000 simoleons, which is pretty cheap for a 4-bedroom home. So maybe I'll try to do something like that. I'm not sure. I just don't think that I'm going to do all starter homes in that neighborhood. So as you can see, the exterior of this build is coming along quite nicely. So I actually attempted this build twice. The problem was that the first house that I built was another purple house, and there was already a purple house in this neighborhood, and so I just wasn't really feeling it. So I decided to go with a house that was an almost teal color, and I loved these windows with these orange accents, and so I thought that this was a good color to choose to complete the exteriors in this neighborhood. So we've got two houses that are brick houses, we've got a purple house, a light blue house, and now we've got this dark blue house. I might actually go back later once I finish building on the rest of the lots in Willow Creek and make some adjustments on some of the houses that I made. I'm thinking of the first house in particular, the one I called the Lovely Lavender Home, because now that I look back on it and compare it to the other builds that I've been doing and the other builds that I like better in this neighborhood, it kind of seems like an oddly granny-ish house in a neighborhood that has a lot of very young and hip interiors. So I might go back and adjust that house some. I might adjust the exterior a little bit, although I'm kind of digging the purple, so I don't know. I might adjust it a little bit. Once I do actually finish rebuilding this whole world, I'm definitely going to make a video that includes a tour of all of the houses. I don't know how I'm going to do that without making a super long video, but you'll be able to see it, and I think it'll be really good. So how have you all been doing, Internet? I hope that you've been doing well. Have some of you started school? Speaking of school, I have a setup right now that reminds me a lot of being in school. So I hope you haven't noticed, although you probably have, but ever since I moved to my new place, I don't really have a good setup going on. There's been a lot of echo in my videos, and I haven't mentioned it because I don't like to mention problems until I feel like I can start fixing them. So I finally, about a week ago, started to get materials together to help me soundproof the space where I record. But I didn't get quite all of the materials that I needed, so How does this remind me of school? Well, remember like those folder forts that you made in elementary school whenever you were taking a test? You know, you set up one folder on one side, one folder on the other side, and then you might even put like a roof on it. You take your test under there so nobody can cheat. Well, that's kind of what I've got going on right now, but with foam. It's hilarious, actually. So I bought these foam panels so I could somehow attach them to the walls, so hopefully the walls would absorb more sound. I also bought very thick blackout curtains, so hopefully that'll help with some of the plane noises that are constantly coming through the window. Although that was my first time buying curtains, and I bought the wrong size curtain rods, so I don't actually have those up yet, so I don't know if they help. But those are some of the things that I'm trying to do to soundproof this space a little bit better. I hope the echo isn't as bad as I think it is. I listen to myself when I'm editing with studio grade headphones, so I hear everything, every little noise. But when I watch YouTube videos myself, I usually don't listen to them with headphones on. And when I listen to my own speed builds without headphones, the sound quality isn't nearly as bad. So I hope that it's not so bad for you. If it is, I apologize, but please know that I am trying to work on it. I hope you'll stick with me in the meantime. But yeah, I'm trying to find solutions, but I'm kind of broke. And I'm missing some of the materials I need to actually put this setup together. So yeah, anyway, my foam fort hopefully should make this voiceover sound a little bit better today. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about this build. So right now you can see that I'm working on the interior. I started with the kitchen and I've started doing this new thing that hopefully will help me furnish interiors faster because I get so picky when it comes to choosing the color swatches that when I furnish interiors, I end up taking a really long time. So I've tried to do this new thing where I just pick out the item that I know I want and I don't bother with the color swatch for a long time until I have most of the items that I know I want already in place in the room. So that's what I did with these cabinets here. The red was the first swatch that they come in the catalog, so that's why you see a bunch of red cabinets here. I end up changing them to an orange and white color, which I think is really nice. I wanted the color scheme of the interior to go with the color scheme of the exterior, so I wanted it to have some orange accents, like those orange accents on the windows, and I also wanted there to be a lot of blue in the interior. So usually when I furnish interiors, one of the first things that I'll pick out is the rug, because I feel like the rug is what really ties a room together, and it also gives you the opportunity to establish a dominant color as well as accent colors that you could pick up from that rug. The rug that I chose for this room is actually not a very good example of that at all because it's just a creamy color as well as different shades of orange. And I end up making yellow a little accent color in this room. It actually has a pretty big role because you could see me making this sectional right here, which is a bright yellow color. I love making sectionals with that chair. It's just, I can't believe that I didn't know that you could do that for so long with that chair, but I love how it worked out. I did have a little bit of trouble trying to squeeze that sectional in because this living room space in this open concept living space is quite small, and the sectional does reach into the doorway to that hall just a little bit, but when I play tested it, the Sims were fine. They could get into the hallway just fine. So you can see me now trying to pick out a color for the kitchen cabinets, and you could see that I did that after I had already picked out most of the items that I wanted to include in the living space. And I do think that that made it so much easier for me to choose color swatches for the kitchen cabinets, and I think that that just cut down on a lot of time. So if you, like me, tend to spend way too much time furnishing interiors and you'd like to get faster at it, maybe try doing that. Maybe try just picking out the items you want but not worrying about the color swatches until you've got most of the items in place, and then go back and just paint the room with the colors that you want. Not literally, but well, you also have to paint the room too. The walls, I mean. Paint the furnishings. You know what I mean. So in addition to some pops of yellow and the two dominant colors being this teal and this orange. I also included a lot of stark whites in the interior of this build, or at least in the living space, as well as a lot of blacks. You can see that I've started to pull in some black with the dining chairs, which I love, by the way. I really like this dining setup. It's so simple and it's kind of cheap looking, but I really love it for some reason. But I also tried to incorporate more of the color black by using that chair, and I also really like how the black works with this dark toned wood, actually. I don't know why I find it so appealing, but I really do. A lot of the furniture items that I use in this room come from the Bowling Night stuff pack. I know that's a really underrated stuff pack, and I gotta agree that the bowling aspect really isn't that exciting. I almost never have my Sims go bowling. Even when I was constantly in gameplay, I almost would never have them go bowling, but I use the items from that pack constantly. So if you're into mid-century interiors, definitely think about getting that pack because it's totally worth it. Peacemaker, by the way, if you can't afford to buy that pack, or if you already have it but you just want more, Peacemaker did a add-on to the Bowling Night stuff pack, which is really nice. I actually did a build featuring that add-on not too long ago. It was the groovy 70s retreat, so you can check that out if you're interested. So you can see me now just trying to pick out some wall decorations. I was thinking that the people who lived in this house were probably big movie buffs. I don't know why I thought that, mostly just because I really wanted to use all of these movie posters. The movie posters and that city living painting are by far my favorite wall decorations. Definitely. So because I wanted to use a bunch of those movie posters, I thought, well, maybe the people living here would be real big movie buffs, and so they would have lots of movie posters everywhere. So I actually end up changing up those movie posters in a little bit because I also needed to fill up the hallway with some sort of wall decoration. So I end up moving one or two of those movie posters. Actually, I end up moving all of those movie posters into the hallway and putting a clock from the Bowling Night stuff pack, actually, right above the TV. And I think that it looks a lot better, and it also makes the hallway into more of like a display area than just a regular old hallway. So you can see now that I am moving on to one of the bedrooms. So I imagined that this bedroom was for a teenage girl, and the color scheme for this bedroom was, well, it diverges a lot from the color scheme of the living space and of the exterior. There aren't too many blues in this room at the end. Instead, there are a lot more pinks and peaches. So this room has more of like a pink and a peach and a light blue color scheme. The thing that inspired that color scheme was this bed. I really like this color swatch. This bed is from Seasons. It's one of the, I think, 2 beds that we got. It's the cheaper one. I actually used the other Seasons bed in the other room, which you'll see in just a minute. But yeah, I really liked this bed. I did have a lot of trouble trying to figure out what paint I wanted to use on the walls of this bedroom because the orange accents on the windows are really bold, and I end up using this blue striped rug, which is also a pretty bold color, and the pink accents on the furniture pieces, on the dresser and on the bookshelf, are also really bold. So it was kind of hard to find a wall color that was a little bit muted, but also not just completely white, that help tie it all together. So I end up finding a wall color that is almost exactly the same as the pillows on the bed, the ones that are further back, the 3 mauve colors. I guess they're mauve. I've said before that I seem to have an obsession with the color mauve. Is that mauve? I think mauve is more of like a dusky pink and not so much a dusky purple, but I guess it's close enough. You're not actually going to see me finding the wall color for this room that I end up choosing in the end, at least not in the speed build part of this video, because, like I said, it took me so long to pick a color. Yeah, you can see me struggling to find the right shade, but you will see it in the screenshots in the end, so don't worry, you will get to see the final product, but I didn't want to make you suffer through the choosing of the colors with me. So yeah, I spent some time trying to find the right wall color, and then I just finished off this room by adding in a few decorative pieces. There's that city living painting once again, just in a different color swatch. Oh, I love that painting so much. I know I overuse it. It's gonna be the thing that I'm gonna have to start avoiding soon, but I really do just love it. It's the perfect size, and it has so many great colors, and it just ties so many rooms together. But anyway, moving on now to the second bedroom in this house. So I pictured this as the parent or parents' bedroom. And like I said, I used this bed from Seasons. This is the more expensive bed from that pack. And originally I was going to choose one of the more colorful swatches, but honestly, none of the colorful swatches of this bed really appealed to me. So I decided to go with this cream and gray color swatch and just add in pops of orange everywhere throughout this room. So you can see that I've got the pops of orange on the end tables, and I've also got a little bit more color being brought in with that painting, I guess it's a painting, that triptych above the bed. And I really love that Japanese style painting. I wish that we actually had more of those. I think that there are 2 Japanese style triptychs in the Build By catalog. And yeah, those are another wall decoration that I tend to overuse because I like it. I like them both so much. I also was really surprised that I ended up going with this rug, but I really like how it looked. I think this room, because the bed is so plain, because it has very muted colors, I thought that this room really needed another pop of color. I thought about bringing that in with the wall colors, but I don't know, it just seemed like the walls in this room were really calling for a more neutral tone. So I liked that I chose this rug that has a pop of yellow instead. And I do think that it helps bring the room together. I also include a mirror from Seasons that actually has this orange swatch, which was quite a surprise, but it was nice to find it because it did just help me bring in more orange accents into this room. I also brought in some bamboo because that bamboo is a nice, lovely green. I also never use the bamboo. I tend to avoid it just because it's so expensive. It's like $1,000 for bamboo, or 1,000 simoleons, excuse me. But yeah, I really liked how it looked in this room, so I decided to use it. Moving on now to the landscaping, I'm just going to show you a slice of the landscaping that I did for this build because, well, one, there isn't that much yard space, so there wasn't that much landscaping for me to do. And 2, because even though there was hardly any yard, it still took me forever to landscape because I really wanted to include some flowers in the landscaping, but whenever I tried to include flowers, it just started to look super cluttered. And so I tried for a long time to fit some flowers in, but I ended up just deleting most of them and including a few grassy plots and some rocks and then a tree or 2. And I think that it looks much better. It's not quite as pretty as I wanted it to be, but I definitely think that it just looks simpler and cleaner and better. So once I finished up the landscaping of this build and did some terrain painting, I was done and I called this build complete. So we're coming up now on the screenshots. I really hope that you enjoyed this build, and I really hope that you like all of the builds that I've done so far in rebuilding Willow Creek. I hope you don't mind if I go back and adjust some of them before I complete this save file. I really like how the interior of this build turned out. I think it's super cute. It's super colorful, so if you're not into bold colors, this build may not be for you, but I really enjoyed it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Like I said, I really hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this build in the comments, and I will talk to you in another video very, very soon. Goodbye!